This was supposed to be the pick of the first round qualifiers but failed to deliver. The Tommy Freeman-less Monaghan started brighter. Damien Freeman's 14th minute score had them 3 points ahead already. But after that, Armagh suddenly sparked to life with their inside men winning the early duels with their markers. Ronan Clark's effort was the first of 5 unanswered points. They were well on top at this stage, with Aaron Kernan chipping in as well, but could only open up a 2-point lead by half-time. Monaghan cancelled that out within minutes of the second half throw-in, as this game descended into a defence-packed stop-start affair. Paul Finlay grabbed the only score from play of the entire half. The Farney edged ahead with moments left just before Stephen MacDonald's elbow to Desi Moan earned him a straight red card, and Armagh looked finished. But with Monaghan's shooting off, Armagh snuck an equaliser to send this game to extra time. Monaghan just about controlled that, and Finlay and Conor McManus grabbed the scores that made the difference. 13 points to 12, but improvements needed.
A lot of people in the country, would have felt we're a one-man team, and that Tommy Freeman was the only forward that Monaghan have, and I think we had an awful lot of different scores this evening. But it's a fantastic win for us.
It has been a privilege working along with them and being part of their lives for so long. And I've no doubt that they'll regroup and move on from here.
Do you intend to be with them?
That remains to be seen. Sometimes it's good to have a wee break. Not saying what I'm looking forward to at this moment, but a break is good, and we'll see how things are later on.
The last time these sides met in the qualifiers was back in 2001 when Louth won. But it was Tipperary who were in an early lead in Drogheda. This Brian Fox points and 2 Barry Grogan frees put Tipperary 3 points up. Louth finally settled and took a 1-point lead. This Shane Lennon score one of 4 unanswered points, which gave Eamon McEnany's side a 4-3 lead. However, Tipperary were soon back in front and went to the half 6 points to the good, as Barry Grogan's goal put Tipperary in control 1-8 to 5 points of the break, with Grogan's personal tally standing at a goal and 4. Tipperary lost goalkeeper Matthew O'Donnell given a straight red card for a high tackle, but from the resultant penalty, JP Rooney couldn't put the ball past O'Donnell's replacement, Paul Fitzgerald. Louth's Derek Crilly was then sent off for a second yellow, and when Philip Austin goaled for Tipperary, it seemed that the game was all over as the visitors raced into a 7-point lead. However, Rooney got a second chance of a penalty, and this time he scored to help cut the gap to 3 points and set up a grandstand finish. However, despite cutting the margin to just a single point, Louth couldn't close the deficit, and helped by this Brian Cowan point, Tipperary held on to advance to the second round on a scoreline of 2-10 to 1-12. Disappointment for Eamon McEnany, but joy for Johnny Evans, the Tipperary manager, who spoke to us after the game.
Look, we've had 20 minutes of madness against Limerick in the first round, and we were being judged on our whole year. We have 8 wins underneath our belt now at this stage, and we were being written off, and we felt it. They're young lads and they have pride in their jersey, and God, they want to play, and they want to get another crack at another championship game.
Wexford Park provided an entertaining affair. Offaly started with 8 changes from the team that began their Leinster defeat to Kildare and got over a sluggish start to race into a 7-2 lead, while McNamee looked particularly dangerous. Wexford went without scoring for 18 minutes but then finished the half strongly, having finally strung together a couple of points. Shane Roach pounced for the game's first goal, so they trailed by just a point at half-time. The second half was just as exciting as the first, with the lead changing hands a number of times. 4 unanswered Wexford points saw them go ahead. Adrian Flynn's effort was pretty impressive. And then back came Offaly again, with McNamee and PJ Ward really causing problems. Ward put them a point ahead, despite their opponent's claims that his shot had been wide. The decisive moment came in the final quarter. Shane Roach tapping down to PJ Banville to finish to the net. And despite a tense final 10 minutes, Wexford held on for the win, but only just to 11 to 16 points.
It didn't matter how we were going to get it, whether it was by 1 point, 10 points, whether it's scoring the last second or whenever it was, we just needed a win. So psychologically it's fantastic, and it's a massive weight off our shoulders.
A decent crowd at Auckland to see Wicklow take on qualifier specialist Fermanagh, and it was Malachy O'Rourke's side that hit the front early with the first point of the game by centre forward Ryan Carson. But Wicklow hit back and at one stage led by 6 points to 3, helped by this well-worked point from Leighton Glynn. Wicklow, though, were reduced to 14 players when Tony Hannon was sent off for a second yellow, although the incident appears to have happened after the referee had blown the whistle. But Hannon had to go. The reduction in the Wicklow numbers galvanised Fermanagh, and helped by a late first half goal by midfielder James Sherry, Fermanagh went to the break, leading by 1-5 to 7 points. But despite playing with just 14 players, Wicklow came out of the traps in the second half and turned that deficit into a lead, and points from the likes of Darren Hayden, Paul Earls and this fisted effort by JP Dalton put Wicklow 2 points up. Wicklow were then reduced to 13 players as midfielder Thomas Walsh got a second yellow for a high tackle, which seemingly handed the advantage to Fermanagh. However, despite their numerical advantage, Fermanagh couldn't press home against a well-drilled side, and indeed Wicklow pulled further ahead over the closing stages, the final point coming from Shawnee Furlong to give Mick O'Dwyer's side a 3-point win on a final scoreline of 17 points to 111.
Anthony, given that Wicklow suffered 3 really bad injuries the last day, that was an extraordinary result.
It's a great result for Wicklow, Des, and I suppose from a Fermanagh point of view, it's a very, very disappointing for them. You'd have thought that despite their poor performance against Cavan, that they would have been able to have turned it around, but once again unable to get enough scores. Wicklow to have played the full second half with down to 14 men and for to go down to 13 men before it was over, that's a tremendous result for them, and it's obvious that the Boyle Michael was still working his charms down in Wicklow.
Yeah. Tommy, John Evans was making the case that Tipperary were maybe unfairly judged in that match against Limerick.
Yeah, Limerick have proven to be a very good team, and Tipperary is a very good league. They won the league and they bet Antrim in the league final, and we see what Antrim have done in Ulster. And you know, I expect Tipperary to give the next round a right rattle too, and they could take another scalp.
They beat Down just before the Antrim lads, wasn't it Down they beat, Kevin? Or Down anyway. The draw took place early this evening for round 2 of the football qualifiers, and it worked out as follows. You've Down versus Laois, Monaghan versus Derry, Longford at home to Kerry, Wexford Roscommon, Tip Sligo, Donegal Clare, Westmeath Meath, and Wicklow against Cavan. We'll get the lads to call them Anthony Down, Laois.
Glad you didn't ask me about the other one.
You were right though.
I think, you know, in terms of the qualifiers, if there's a time to go into the qualifiers, it's in the first round for you coming off the back of a victory. Down of a game, a win under their belts, albeit against London. Laois heads down after being hammered by Kildare, and the added advantage to Down of having a game in Uri. So I would expect Down, a bit of a grudge match because of what happened last year between the two, but I would expect Down to win that.
All right then, Kevin, you take Monaghan Derry.
Well, that's the big one, isn't it, really? I think most of the GA public, you know, would be hoping for the best with this fixture, but possibly expecting the worst. So I'd like to be positive about the fixture. I think it's a chance for the two teams, the two managements, and maybe the two counties at large now to show that they are interested in playing decent football and concentrating on what the game of football is supposed to be about. I think the home fixture for Monaghan gives them a bit of a lift, but in the absence of Tommy Freeman, I know their manager says he's not a one-man show, but it'll catch up with them because he is a serious forward. I think Fergal Doherty's back for Derry. I give the touch to Derry in this one.
All right, Tom, you were making the point about the little guys need the lucky break. Longford beat their neighbours Leitrim, they get Kerry.
Yeah, lucky break does, yeah. I think Longford are cert for a win, I'd say here. And look, Kerry bet Longford in 2016.
You say Longford are cert for a win?
Yeah, I did, Anthony, yeah. I didn't say I'd put money on it. I think you know, Kerry, look, where are Kerry? We don't know. Jack O'Connor's come back. There seems to be a lot of disquiet down in Kerry about the whole setup, the whole thing. They certainly played like a team that were in all over the shop against Cork twice, not just once. Kerry will get it right. We all know that, Des, and yeah, it's hard to see.
Didn't Longford save their season the last time? 3 years ago, whatever it was.
They did, and it's hard to see Kerry obviously not going up and winning in Longford, but it'll be good. It'll be good to see Kerry playing in Longford. I think it's good for the championship.
Wexford at home to Roscommon, Anthony.
Yeah, and a great win. last night for Wexford against Offaly, so they're now back on the road, and Roscommon coming into Wexford Park with their heads down after the performance against Mayo, and I would expect Wexford to win that one.
Kevin, tip at home to Sligo, bearing in mind half of Tipperary's in the room.
Well, I think this has a really good look about it. The two teams on the up. Sligo a little bit disappointed last week against Galway. Tipperary definitely are a team that have ambitions beyond possibly the next round. So they're at home. Sligo might just have a little bit more in terms of experience and know-how that will come on from the Galway match. So that could be a draw, extra time sort of a job. Very, very tight. Maybe Sligo.
Tom, Donegal getting the home draw again.
Yeah, like, you know, it's rehabilitation time for Donegal. This is another good draw for them. I mean, you know, they should certainly beat Clare, and they're now back in the championship, having got 2 wins under their belt when they beat Clare.
Right. Anthony, I was asking you earlier, would you give me odds on Westmeath beating Meath? You said no.
No, I don't see it. I know that Westmeath will certainly raise their game. There's nothing they love more than putting one over on their neighbours in Meath, but you know, Meath have the better footballers. I think Westmeath's season has been abysmal from start to finish. An absolute trouncing in Croke Park against Dublin. You know, they're right on their knees, and I can't see them being able to lift that in time to dethrone Meath. I expect Meath to win.
Never beaten them in championship.
Westmeath, yeah. Oh, you remind me of that famous day in Croker not so long ago, yeah. Kevin, Wicklow at home to Cavan, can they get through another round?
Well, they can, and what Anthony was talking about in their match this weekend is absolutely correct. Like, we're hearing about Wicklow regularly in championship matches, which is great. They're in Aughrim, they're at home. Cavan were very, very disappointing against Antrim, and I think the bounce is now with Wicklow. The force is with them. They're at home. They're going to get a big crowd. I'd say they're going to take that match.
It proves that Mick was right about the qualifiers days, you know.
Indeed,
the 14s back in.
All right, lads, thank you very much for that. Well, now it's time to show the joys and skills of Leinster hurling, and I might remind our audience of Munster men here, this is the province that has been winning the All-Ireland lately. Well, everybody has written